How's it going? This is George with Truck Driver Nation. What I provide is a freight dispatch service, and this is going out to all my owner operators that actually have an active MC. I do freight dispatch, and I drove trucks for 24 years. I've been in logistics 30. And so what I'm providing is I need some owner operators to work with. I already work with some, and I lost a couple because one was equipment failure, the other one was home time, just getting back to the wife and the kids type of deal. But anyways, I don't do a lot of trucks. So the point being is you don't have to worry about me trying to scatter my time so thin that you don't get the priority that you actually are paying me for. When I'm doing the service for you, I make sure that one, you actually make at least what you're making now, but you got to give me honest numbers. If you're doing a dry van, don't tell me you're doing 8,500 a week. Come on, let's keep it real. What I do ensure is if it's anything over your gross revenue, because remember, you get the overall rate cons, that we're not playing games here. If I'm charging 10%, for example, or 8%, depending on what we agree on, then I exceed that by that percentage. Otherwise, it does you no good. But you have to give me the actual numbers that you're making. You play games with me, and obviously I'll be able to read through you. I'm not saying I got more experience than you because I know there's drivers out there that have been doing this longer than I have. But if you want the respect from my end, this ain't somebody getting in between this like you're dealing with a carrier. I work for you, but I need to know that I'm making what's due mine because I've already been there and done it too. But that being said, if you're actually looking for a dispatch service that knows how to deal with direct shippers, and I do have a freight agent MC, so I do have the right to deal directly with them. And my broker, nope, the owner operator that has the MC is actually an owner operator that works with JB Hunt. He lets me use his MC, so that's what gives me the access to the direct shippers because I used to recruit truck drivers for him. On your side with your MC, obviously I utilize the load boards, any contracts that you already have, and I make sure that we strategize. I use strategy. This ain't day to day type of let's guess and make it happen type thing. I use strategy to determine what we need to do. The factors that I expect out of you, if you choose to do it, because remember, at the end of the week is your gross revenue and it's your bottom dollar. But I try to insist that we look at alternatives on our fuel stops, depending on your credit cards and stuff. If you got something set up, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. So if you want to go with your strategy, absolutely, we'll stick with it. But I look at routing. You if you ain't got a lot of experience driving, the reason I'm telling you this is because route, toll roads, fuel stops, idle time. These are some of the few factors that actually make a big difference in your overall gross income of what you're actually generating each week profit. Okay. Yeah, you got your variable costs and you got your fixed costs. If you let me know what those are, I'll be more than happy to look at it as well because I was an owner operator and see how we can maximize even on those things. I'm not trying to refinance your truck or nothing like that, but I'm just saying in the scheme of my skill set, if you need that type of assistance, I'm here to help you on that. But what I'm going to do is we're going to go through what I actually provide. This is just like an ad, right? We can get more in depth because we can spend hours and hours on this, but I just want you to know that you're dealing with an experienced owner operator, freight dispatcher, right? And um, and one of the big things we'll go through it, so I don't want to repeat myself. Let's go through it to start now, so we don't keep recapping. But anyways, owner operators, I need you with an active MC. Right now, actually, if you come on board with me, that if you want to grow your fleet, we can go over how companies strategize what they do, and I'll tell you all the secrets. If you want to grow your fleet, if you grow your fleet, it grows me, right? But as far as your trucks, if you've got trucks and you've got drivers and you want to get rid of one of them, let's say, for example, they're just not performing, or you want to get a new truck and you're going to need a driver, then let me know. I will get you new drivers. I recruit for about 58 companies. I don't really recruit directly. I let my girls do that. They handle the drivers on the back end. And so I get hundreds of leads. I mean, really over 500 plus leads per day. So if you need truck drivers, then let me know. All I need to know is the profile, how much you're paying them per mile, where their home time is. Do you need them within a certain region? Do they know how to drive a manual automatic? Whatever it is, how much out time you got to have before they get home, all those different factors. So if you let me know that, then we will fill that void for you. Obviously, the deal is we fill the truck, we get to dispatch the truck. That's the only deal. Instead of charging you 700 or 1,200 or up to $2,500, because that's what the companies pay us as driver recruiters when on that side of my business. But as a freight dispatch service, I'm the only one that dispatches. Okay. I actually have a school where I teach people. That's what this, in fact, this back screen is what you're looking at as we're doing this. That is what what we're actually give me one second, make sure I'm on the right thing. That's actually I mean, that's my business, truckdrivernation.com. This is where I train students to become professional freight dispatchers. Now, if you want to build a freight dispatching company under your business, we can discuss that. And I can show you how that's 100% plausible and feasible. And you can actually build that leg of your business as well. So the whole thing is, as an owner operator, if you're actually seeking my service or consulting, then I can actually show you how to grow your business. Does it take time? Yes, it does. Everything good always takes time, but in logistics, it's solid. We know it's not going nowhere. I know we got things coming in. We got AI, vehicle automation, but it's not going to happen tomorrow. I don't know how many more years we got before we start seeing a significant change. I'm not in that. I'm not in the tech industry, so I don't know. But obviously, owner operators with active authority. Um, you can obviously, we freight optimization. The thing is, we're just like any other dispatch service, okay? Except I am the only person that's dispatching you. You get three dispatchers with your truck. Okay. The reason is I've got people looking at boards, making cold calls every day. As long as you're on a dedicated route and stuff like that, I can actually maximize and increase your gross revenue off of those tools right there. Because remember, I got the freight agent side. That being said, I need to know, what you're looking for. Like if you want to just run off 48, unless you just happen to be hitting an area where I have a direct shipper and they happen to have that pickup for that given day, that limits me. I'm hooked to the boards. But when I post your equipment, I don't just post it on one site. I do them all. DAT, truck stop, whichever boards that you have, that's the ones I utilize. And then addition, since I got access to your MC because I have the limit power of attorney, I go put them on all ups. I got the girls putting them on CH Robertson, TQL, Coyote, RXO, all of them. So, and let's just make it shorter. So I put them on everything I possibly can, and they monitor them for them to come in because we get notifications and stuff like that, or they give us calls because I receive the calls to make sure that if I'm going to pick that load off of them, that it's going to be worth its while. Now, with your MC, please make sure your MC is in good standing. If you've had a lot of PSP violations and stuff like that, the brokerage looks at that. That really makes it difficult on me. I've got owner operators that do have MCs. I can discuss it with them, but your best option is to have your own MC because I can actually help you grow your business in that direction. Because if I'm growing your business, like I said, if it helps you, it helps me. Um, let's say driver. Okay, that's the driver recruitment. So it's 100% free. We're dispatching the truck. Now, obviously, at Truck Driver Nation, we freight optimization. Went over again. Let's see what we offer. Okay, when I put this in here, I didn't put everything because I just needed a short ad. Okay, so that's the whole point. This dedicated dispatcher works exclusive with you. That's going to be me. In addition to the two other people I have on my backside helping me. So you got three dispatchers. I don't do more than 7 trucks. It's just because I start splitting down my time too much. But if you've got more than 7 trucks, I can hire more dispatchers. I've got dispatchers at my fingertips that run anywhere from give or take, experience wise, 5 years to about 12 years experience. I do monitor them if they're actually going to be handling accounts under my business name to make sure that your gross revenue is correct every week. Whether you're doing driver and reefer, flatbed, or step deck, I don't deal with a lot of hazmat. I just deal with straight freight because it makes it easier, but it also includes whatever is going to be on your insurance exclusions. That's going to be the only other thing that limits me from freight. You got to excuse me. I'm getting over a cold. Just one of those things. Give me 1 second. So, top paying loads, prioritize for your preferred lanes and freight types. So that being said, like I said, if you're on a dedicated, you can put me, if you're doing a triangle, let's say you leave home, you're going to go from, let's just use Denver. I'll do the one I used to Denver, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, back down to Miami, and then back up. That's what I used to do as a car hauler. So that right there gives me the ability to maximize your freight and increase your gross revenue. Bouncing all over the United States, fine, we can do that. But when you're talking about fuel, certain states you don't want to go into, certain lines you don't want to go down below, like I-4, really anything northeast of Vermont. If you have contracts there, then I'll be more than will work with them. But you know what the boards look like. Like even San Diego, that's not a hot place for freight. So I just try to keep out of the rate. Those are different. Now, if you're looking at that, whichever zones you don't want to be in, but overall, those different states, because I know by the states, the whole zone thing, I never really followed it much, but a lot of people know the zones, by which zone they're wanting to pull freight out of. So when they're posting. But anyways, when it comes to your overall deadhead, I try to absolutely minimize that. I try to keep it down below. I would love to keep it down below 100, 150. I really start getting squeamish. That load really has to pay something, because if I can get you a short load for 400 miles or whatever it is to get that freight, so it keeps minimizes a freight load that may not be paying as much, but it gets us back into where you need to be, where it actually does pay better, then we use that strategy. But you got to remember, that's just one strategy. It all depends on the day-to-day motion of where you're at, when you're getting empty or loading or whatever it's going to be. And to, obviously maximize that freight. And like I said, if you're in that lane, I can always keep on hitting on direct shippers. I use Seamless AI. Seamless AI is an AI based platform that allows me to go directly to the logistics coordinators for any given carrier. I mean, any given direct shipper, so I can discuss with them an opportunity where we can get our foot in the door. And I always tell them all the same thing. Yeah, we've obviously pulled from you. Now, obviously, if it makes sense, if it's something that's high security or it's, whatever, then I, have to adjust accordingly. It's thinking on your feet, right? Because this is logistics. But overall, my problem solving skills are strong, so don't have to worry about that. Flexible options, over the road, regional, and dedicated lanes. That's really the options that I work with. I don't really do, let's say, local, unless you've got a contract, because I'm an OTR driver. I drove. That's all I know how that works. Okay. Doing local drop here, pick up, drop. I don't want to sit there and do that all the time. Now, if you want to do LTL and you want me to do that way, you'll have to discuss what your ideal on that is. I can do you LTL, but that's a lot more time intensive. Yes, it pays better, but on the other hand, it eats up more man hours. But like I said, you got three dispatchers working with you, so we absolutely can handle that. No force dispatcher, it's your truck, your call. You don't like it, let me know. But remember, you're doing a carrier profile, so that way I know everything that where you want to run, what your baseline rate is that we can't go below. I don't want to see you unless you just feel like you're tired and you need to shut it down. I don't want to have you sitting overnight. I never like sitting in a damn fast food truck stop, as I call them. It's better to keep me moving. It keeps me occupied. But I obviously need to know, if you know what your minimum freight rate is, like your bottom line, or what your profit, not your profit, because you making your money and the truck making its money, that's not profit. Profit's everything that exceeds that baseline value, to make it where you start now actually having money every week that goes into your bank or whatever, where you can get ready to buy new equipment or whatever you choose to do with it, right? So, but anyways, back office paperwork, whatever paperwork you want us to assist you with, then let us know. Um, Broker setup or rate confirmations. Also, we do the carrier packets and the rate cons, because, but obviously I need your signature just like I do anybody else's, where I can paste it on the rate con, because I'm not allowed to sign for you there. But as far as all your load confirmations and stuff, we'll do that. 24/7 communication, whether it's email, text, or giving a phone call. I know you're in motion, and I don't want to sit there and drive you crazy. So I only call you when I absolutely need you. But besides that, everything will come through text, unless it's direct con. We're going to send that through email, and that way, you keep moving. But the biggest fear I have is somebody being on that phone because you're dealing with me or something, and something happens, because they are giving away some serious prison time for being on that phone. And I'm just saying that in general conversation. So, but I try to get the information to you, updates. It's a communication stream. If a broker calls me, you're getting the same message that I'm dealing with from him, just so you know, if it's of significance. If it's just regular old knick-knack bullshit, don't worry about it. I'm not going to bother you with it. I'll handle it. But if it's something that's really affecting, I try to get you layover and detention pay, by the way, on every single one of them. And Tonu, if you've been ordered and the trailer ain't paid for, then, I have to make sure the Tonu's in there. Sometimes I'm gonna let you know, when you're dealing with brokerages, You got they all think they're slick dicks. Okay, let's get that straight. So when I'm dealing with them, I try to make sure all that's in there. If I can't get it, in the carrier profile, I'll let you know. I don't skip it once because I want to maximize everything for every situation. I've been there and done that type of deal. So I want you to know I'm not just throwing you out to the wind because I've recruited owner operators for carriers before when I was just doing street recruiting, just straight recruiting. And them damn companies didn't care. And then that driver owner operator would call me because I'm the one that recruited him, complaining about it. So that's the reason I'm making you sure that you understand that any avenue on anything that has to do with it, I don't want some prick trying to fine you $300 or $500 or whatever it could be for not turning on the micro tracker. Yes, you have to turn on the micro tracker. That's part of our job. I know they're not new, but you know what I mean? I was there when all that crap started coming in. I was like, dude, it's my phone. Why do I got to have a micro tracker, man? I mean, you got my ELD, but it's their game. If we want the freight, we obviously have to turn it on and make sure that it stays active for the duration of that trip. Now, if you have a certain platform that you like using for that, then let me know. Put it in the carrier profile so I can tell them, look, my guy has this. This is the one he likes using. If they have it, because you probably get two or three on your phone. So let me know the ones you got so they can instantly send it to you. You ain't got to sit down there and sit there and download a new app for every prick that we deal with, and it just gets that out of our way. Anyways, parts and service assistance. If you break down, let me know. I was an owner operator. I know parts they depends on what part it is and what the hell's going on. I get it because they do mark their parts up. We all know that. But I'm going to try to get it obviously from the best supplier I can, make sure it fits your van for your engine and everything. So that way we're not putting on parts that, yeah, they work, but they're not really made for that truck. I've had to do it even with my truck and talk about hurt my damn feelings because ain't nothing like putting a part on a damn C15 cat engine, and I didn't really want to put it on there. I had to put a turbo on there, and I wasn't feeling it. And even after that, Peterbilt screwed it up. It's the one out of Virginia right there. I think it's off of 81. I think it was off 81. Those sorry ass people, they didn't do the clock. They didn't tighten down the clock and the ring that you line up. They call it clock and ring or whatever the hell they call it. And they screwed my truck up, ended up tearing that turbo up within about 3 weeks. And now I'm down again. My truck ain't making money, and I had to send the part all the way back to where it was to get it refurbished. And that was almost $8,000 or $9,000. But I didn't have no choice. I was in a bad spot. But and that was back, I think we're during COVID where there wasn't no parts. It was such a hard thing to find parts on some issues. But I do go in, like I say, if you just need tires, I try to set the best thing up. I know you can get them from the wholesale tire warehouse and then take it to the truck stop, about $50 to throw it on the rim. I do try to get on how many ply you want and, stair tire, trailer, tractor tire. Just tell me what you want. And then obviously I'll dig it up and I'll just send you the list, give me an hour or so and go through all the warehouses because remember I got the back girls helping, so that's their job, and they're good at doing what they do. And if you end up talking to one of the girls, they I outsource from other countries, but they speak perfect English. I only use the Philippines, so the reason I use them because they worked with American companies before, and they do exactly what you're telling them. There ain't no question about your orders. Well, I think I don't want to know what they think. I want to know what you've given me based on what I told you to go find, and that's the best thing about them. So, but that being said, any parts or services that you need, let me know. If you need roadside service, I hate it when that happens, but because you're overpaying like for a damn brake chamber or something stupid, because some people don't know how to lock them out. If you want me to tell you how to lock them out, I'll give you instructions. You can do it. But most things that if you've got a problem going with your truck, if you can just tell me what you're dealing with and whatever, I'm not saying I'm a perfect mechanic because if it's in the computer, I can't read the computer. But if it's a mechanical in the truck, I pretty much will tell you what it is. I know that sounds arrogant, but I've been there and done that. 24 years. And because when I first started, we used to replace parts. Like we had tools in the side box. The owner of the truck would give us parts. And because I'm from the country, I was raised on a farm and, would replace whatever part it was. I know the computers are involved now. So if it's DPF, you're getting deregulated. I can at least tell you how to put the truck into auto regen or something like that. But overall, I know trucks. But anyways, required things that I need from you. This is just a few. There's more paperwork than this, but obviously you got to have an active MC. I know some of you are not getting MC numbers now because the USDOT number is taking over. They're bringing them into one, but obviously your driver's license, your medical card, you have to have a thing set up with clearinghouse, reliable communication, and we're on the same goals because I do get drivers that I had when I first started doing dispatching. They taught me into taking care of the truck, but then they wasn't motivated doing 200, 300 miles a day, and then they're out. I can't work with that. This affects me. My profit comes from your efforts, and your profit comes from my efforts. And so this is a shared relationship in doing this. Obviously, whatever ELD service that you have, if you've got it where they'll help um, make corrections, if you give me their name and number, we are both on that same understanding. I'll make those accordingly. If you want to do it yourself, do it yourself. But obviously, I want to help keep you in compliance, whether it's with your overall permit book or whatever it is. If you want me to keep track of that, the girls keep track of it and everything. We keep it in a file and let you know when things are coming due and everything, so there's no surprise fees. I hate that even with my own checking accounts. Like, damn, I forgot about that. Because you're trying to always balance your dollars. Time management and route planning skills. Obviously, we stay on you with this, you know what I mean? Because we're watching you. I got two other people to help me, right? So we're trying to watch you, but obviously, um, everything I send is always documented because if it ain't in documentation, it didn't happen. So I always text. Just give me a second. I always text. Um, I always text or email or whatever it is because you'll also be on Telegram, which is a great platform. It doesn't download stuff to your phone, and we communicate through there a lot. But we got written records of what was said and all that. So that way, by chance you don't make a time schedule, and I don't try to. Let me cover this. When I'm actually doing your loads, I don't do any idiot says, "Hey, we'll be there at 1:30." I'm not doing that. I at least try to give a 3 to 6 hour window or first come first serve when it comes to pick up and drop. And obviously, I still make sure that's got that 1 to 2 hour window for getting loaded. After that, you get detention pay. That's the whole point. And if I know what the experiences are with the particular shippers or receivers, I know what it's like. I've been there. So if I know if I know who they are and what they're doing, or if you know who they are, I might even send you a message. Hey, have you ever been to whatever, whatever? What did it look like on your pickup time or your drop off time? So we can assure when I'm debating, or and that is you can say negotiating, but you're debating with a damn broker on why we need that detention pay. Hey, it took me 6 hours the last time we went in there to get unloaded. And so we need detention pay on this because you know it and we know it. And that's the reason you're not putting it on the sheet. So if you can't be fair about it, I'm not going to just straight out refuse it, but I'm going to say, look, we really need it. If you can't get it handled, then I need to discuss this with my driver to kind of see what's going on. So I'll call you and I'll tell you. And then at that point, you can tell me, fuck them, or we'll take it. So that being said, that's the way I kind of approach some of these problems. A lot of them I can usually negotiate it out to get it on there. But you want to have the beforehand factors because you don't want to be playing cards when you ain't got nothing in your hand. I like knowing as much data on any given situation just as you do to make sure that we're making good business choices. Now, on fuel cards and factoring service, if you have a factoring service, I don't want to have to be looking at because I don't have a factoring service. I can get one set up. I tell people this all the time. I can get one set up. That's all fine and good. But, if you got your own factory service, I mean, if you want us to kind of find you a better one, if you don't like the rates that you're paying, then let us know. But obviously, when we set up the overall agreement between you and us, the three things that I require is one, I don't want to have to invoice you. Now, obviously, you do get an invoice, but I get direct paid. I either get from your business account, from your credit card, if you want to use that, or from the factoring service. You'll have to work with me with the factory service, and they will send me my company's percentage of whatever loads we're doing. Now, if we don't make the rates that we're supposed to be making in order to keep you above that baseline, we don't charge you for that week. Okay, so if we by any chance pulled freight for that given week, because remember we got all of our bills, then we just give it back to you. Some drivers say here, keep it as a credit, knock it off next week, or go and send it back to me. Just remember we have transfer fees, so I don't want it to hurt either one of us when we're doing this. So I just I don't make a contract who takes the fees or nothing. It's just it's me and you. So whatever you decide to agree on, I'm willing to, be flexible with that. But like I said, we'll just type it up. I'll type it and you give a response. That way we have it in writing on what we agreed on that, because I'll have the load number, whatever it is. So what we agreed on those loads, I'll tell you, hey, this is the loads you did for this week, and this is what the fees were. What do you want me to do? And then you send me a text back, because discussing on the phone is not in writing. We always need to keep everything in writing so we keep each other in check. Because I know I'm busy, I know you're busy, and I'm not saying we get confused, but sometimes mistakes do happen that way. And I just want to make a good business relationship where there's no issues. Obviously, by the way, make sure you understand I am a redneck from the United States, born in Mississippi, raised in Alabama, and I'm an American truck driver. So that being said, because a lot of people don't like dealing with foreigners, it's your choice. I do deal with foreigners because it is the United States and we got an influx of everybody. So I just wanted that to be said so there's clarity on that. And everybody has different business practices. Mine's straight American business practice. Everything's on the table. We both live in the same house, and I can't reinvent myself somewhere else. I'm an American, okay? But your fuel cards. If you got fuel cards and you don't like the rates on those, let us know. We'll fight to increase that. And the reason I do this, fight for these things, by the way, I need to maximize your gross revenue. That's the whole reason we do this for you. We don't charge nothing for it because my job is to keep you. I don't want to make a relationship with the owner operator and then turn around and lose you. The whole thing, and we're not talking about this, don't take a long time. I get the girls on the phone and they go at it, right? So if you've got fuel cards and they're good and you know your service points, let me know what they are, which fuel cards you got, so I know where you're going to stop. Let me tell if you want to stop at Pilot or Loves all the time, well, let me know. Hey, I only stop at Loves. So that way I know what I'm looking at when the fuel rates, because I can look on their system and determine it. And that's going to be in the dispatch, the overall carrier profile when you do it. So I know what systems that you're in. Valid plates. I don't have a plate program because I don't have an MC and all that good stuff. So obviously you got to have valid plates. We'll watch those for you as well, if the sticker and all that, and make sure everything's up and standing at all times. Um, MC is in good standing. Like I said earlier, I believe that no major issues that will limit freight sourcing. So if you have issues, then we need to kind of see what we're going to do about that. Because if I'm looking at the boards and we're calling, now we definitely send out a lot of emails, a lot of texts and stuff when it comes to this, because we want to maximize the overall responses on the freight that's available, including our direct shippers, to get the best freight for you at any given point. So keep that in mind when you're like, what's storage doing? Shit, brother, I'm doing everything but setting an Indian fire to send smoke signals. My job is to maximize your gross revenue. I don't know how other way to put that, because if I treat your truck like it's my truck, and I'm not going to halfway do it. If I'm out there for the week, I need to know that I'm making it. Now I can, and I want to stack loads for you, pre-book them, right? So if I do any pre-planning for you, I have to make sure, because I don't want to tighten your schedule up. Now I run off of 50 miles per hour on any given load for rates, right? That way it brings down any problems for me having to figuring, okay, well, he's going to take a break or whatever it is, and then calculate that in addition to your overall reset time, your 10 hours reset. But if you're going to be out 15 days and you know you're good at burning the clock up, unless you got something going on with your ELD that helps that situation, then let me know. And obviously, if we can, if it's a given route, if it's dedicated, then obviously I'll know these are the routes you like running. So I always try to make sure that, I know you're going down for 34 if you're going to have to do an actual 34-hour restart out there on the road. But anyways, every given situation is different, and that's the whole driver profile that we go through. Now, insurance, if you already have your insurance exclusions, those are always nice to have. Also, your 2290 and any permits that you have. Like I said, I don't really do hazmat. Uh, if you have a TWIC card and you want to go to the ports, I stay out of the ports because I can never determine what number in line I might be. Sometimes the product's easy to get to. It's just like going to a regular shipper. You're backed in. But if it's something specific for, let's say, my step deck, my flatbed folks, then we're going to make sure that that happens. Now, in addition, to let you know, I don't just get your freight. I do, before I establish a contract with an overall broker, I do call, even though I got the rate con right, I do call the actual shipper to make sure the load's ready, especially when pre-planning, because I need to make sure that load is ready to go. And I also call the receiver to make sure that when we get there, that appointment is good. because people say you on a bunch of shit, first come, first serve, and then all of a sudden you get there and it's supposed to be an appointment, or you got an appointment already set and the broker didn't tell you. So I don't trust brokers. I don't trust nobody outside the people I'm dealing with and who I'm actually paid to protect. Whatever your interest is in my best interest. So my job is to look out after what you expect out of me. So I want you to know we cover every point when it comes to this. This is not no half-ass wit trucking carrier that might have 100 trucks and they treat everybody like a number, or they don't even really care. And I know it exists because I'm a recruiter. So I'm well aware of what goes on out there because I deal with the front end giving false whatever that, because I would never worked in their offices. On some of them, I have worked in offices before, but people want me to recruit for them, and I don't always know the truth behind the way they perform in their own actual business practices, and it really makes a bad backlash on me. That's the reason nowadays, even with freight dispatching, it's all me. I don't, if you're working with me, then working with me. If, like, say, if you got more equipment, even the dispatchers I put my foot in their ass to make sure that they're up to speed. I'm not here to make friends with them. They're here to do a job and perform as well as I do for you. And I've got complete transparency through our computers. So everything I see, every move they do, I can tell what the loads are, and I'll even spot check them. Because remember, I got two girls working for me. You wonder how I can do all this. I got two girls working for me, so they obviously know what I know. And one of them's actually my wife. So if you deal with Maria, just know that she's my wife. She's sweet and she's all kind and don't cuss and all that, but she knows transportation because she sits beside me 24/7 basically, and I live and breathe trucking. So, um, in addition, types of trailers that we keep loaded. I basically do dry van, reefer, flatbed, step deck, and car haulers. Car haulers, we got to do something special because you got actually you're unloading and dropping. Now, if I do a flatbed or step deck, or anybody that I do kind of like LTL, because that's basically what car hauling is to some degree, because you're dropping a car, having to put a car on to keep maximizing their gross revenue for that particular trip, then obviously, we'll discuss, how we're going to handle that. But I do car haulers. It depends on the trailer you got. If you're doing like a 5307 XL or a 9 car Trail, I need to know your racks. I need to know what flippers flip up, all that good stuff. The pictures definitely help, and I'll have that on profile to realize it because, when I got girls looking for cars, then I need to say, hey, I need a pickup truck. I need to be, because like say for example, Tundras. You put Tundras on car haulers and they just don't want to fit because they are so far over dimensional almost that it's hard to even get them to sit down in the tracks. Depends on how the trailer was built. Some of them are flat, but then you got the ones that were made like track systems on the trailer, like say for position one or whatever, and then how far is it going to stick out if I'm backing it up on position one, obviously up top, and I drop off into the rings, where our tires sit down in, how much you don't have sticking out the front of the nose of the tractor. And the same thing is, I do the calculations to make sure, versus the 75 foot, how far we got going out the back as well, and what will fit in which position. Like a high rail, they're a lot different. And just if you're a car hauler, make sure your hydraulics, when you raise them up and down, I'm just talking to you because you're going to pay in the price, but let me know what you can and cannot put in there. If I put a tight car and it has to go in position 3 or 4 or something like that, and your hydraulics kind of kick off and make it go sideways, I don't want you scraping up a truck and then you're mad at me because I did, you should have needed a smaller vehicle. Um, Instead of putting that on there. But also, I try to always make sure because I was a car hauler. I try to keep the weight off the ass because I know at the back of the trailer, past the trailer tandems, is usually where we our back axles on a trailer is always our heaviest spot on a car hauler. But anyways, that being said, we'll go over that if for those car haulers that need my assistance in keeping their equipment loaded. Now, whether you're running solo or managing a fleet, Truck Driver Nation works hard to make sure your trailers stay loaded and profitable. If I get to the point where I see it's not profitable, I have to actually back off the number of trucks I'm loading because it's not always easy to find the level of freight dispatchers that I utilize. Because not everybody have 30 years in the game, right? So I do my best to find those people that are qualified and bring them in and hold them hand to hand and get them up to speed and making sure that they're doing providing our service correctly in the manner that we provide it. I know you can say, well, you want to make $1 million. Everyone wants to make $1 million, but sometimes $1 million just ain't gonna get it because the thing is, you're only as good as your your lowest man on the totem pole, your weakest point, right? So that's always the issue when you're dealing with logistics. And anybody that's in this business, you understand. Um, our performance guarantee, a truck driver nation, we commit to your success. If you don't keep your gross revenue at market or above, you don't pay for that week's dispatch service. Okay. That's and that's not the company's problem. I mean, yeah, it is the company's promise, but it's obviously my promise because I'm the one that owns the thing. So, because if we don't win, I mean, if you don't win, obviously, then we don't win because we're failing to produce what we have. And if the markets change or whatever we're looking at, then we adjust accordingly because we constantly want you to go up. Now, obviously, we have your driver profile and you're basing it off the market and the market conditions. So just because the market goes up, don't mean that we don't need to adjust that because we keep needing to set in a higher tier for our standards to make sure you're profitable. We don't want to lose the ability to provide you a service and you being a client with us because in the end game, we work for you. We don't get it confused that no, they work for us. We work for you. It's your equipment. It's your hard work. You have the hardest job in the trucking industry. I know this firsthand. Since I came out and recruiting and dispatching, is it challenging? Yeah, but it ain't like truck driving. Ain't shit about this nearly as hard as driving that truck. So I understand where you're at. But anyways, that being said, our contact information is here at the bottom, the 210-343-1118. That is my wife, Maria. If you need to talk to me, please let her know, hey, I need to speak to George of the Jungle. So you'll remember. Also, there's our email address and our website so you can check us out. Also, go to YouTube, which you probably found this off of YouTube. Then you can obviously see, all the other content and what we claim that we offer because this is what I actually do for a living. It won't change until the day I die. And at that point, you ain't got to worry. If something happens to me, my wife immediately takes over everything. So she will be your contact and she's good at what she does. I mean, she don't always like learning. I'm going to be the first to confess because you know how it is in trucking. You push, you push, you push and even the people in the office get burnt out. So sometimes we have to take a break, let her just do a regular job for a while, and then we go back and reapproach the whatever status that she's at and bring her on up to speed. But that being said, I appreciate your time. I hope you consider using Truck Driver Nation as your freight dispatch service. Um, if you got questions, concerns, you can send me questions. You can text me, email me, or give me a call, and we can sit and discuss the matters and make sure that we are a good fit for each other because just because I freight dispatch doesn't mean I'm a good fit for you because it always has to do with our personalities and our ability to work together. I'm always humble when it comes to understanding my position in the food chain. I'm not, will never no gold spoon in my mouth type of deal. I'm just like everybody else, counting the white lines and trying to keep people from coming over on me type of deal. But anyways, I hope this piques your interest and that I hear from you. But please make sure to visit our website and stuff. And if you can put a like or whatever on this, or if you have questions on it, go down below and you can actually type in a reply or whatever. And I do answer those. But anyways, I'll kind of leave it at that. But anyways, I appreciate your time. Everybody have a blessed day. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to present what I offer. Thank you so much.